Quinton Rampage Jackson. He brings a lot to the table.
Like what though?
Well, I mean,
he's lost 4 in a row. He's got every activist group on earth attacking him. The women's group, the Gay and Lesbian Association. Go right down the list of all the activist groups that don't want to see that guy on television ever again.
It wasn't hard then to leave UFC.
No, it wasn't. It was very easy for me to leave UFC. Very easy. I just didn't like the way they treated me. Simple as that.
Rampage Jackson stands as one of the most legendary figures in UFC history. Known for his explosive fighting style, he became a fan favorite, securing his place in the sport's lore by dethroning the legendary Chuck Liddell with a first-round knockout during Liddell's prime. Despite his undeniable talent and the thrill he brought to the octagon, Rampage's relationship with Dana White, the president of the UFC, grew increasingly tense.
What if they reach out to you to be in the Hall of Fame? Would you accept it?
No, fuck them.
Rampage often voiced his frustrations, feeling that the UFC didn't fully appreciate his value as a fighter who consistently delivered excitement for the fans. Meanwhile, Dana White, focused on running his business, held his own views on how Rampage fit into the UFC's broader plan.
You don't think he's going to draw on his fame?
What does he bring? People who are fight fans want to see the best fighters in the world compete against each other. I quote Quinton Rampage Jackson, "I can no longer compete with the best in the world." Rampage is hysterical, he's funny, but a lot of baggage comes along with Rampage Jackson. The grass is always greener, man, until it's not there anymore. And then you realize you made a lot of mistakes and you should have done things differently.
Surprise, surprise! The king is back!
You do MMA.
MMA.
Why?
This is just like my calling, you know. You're born a fighter. It's just in me, and I like the sport. It's a good sport. Where I grew up, and I wanted to be a boxer. I was a big fan of Mike Tyson and stuff like that. But where I grew up, there was no boxing gyms or anything like that. Then I started wrestling because I wanted to be a pro wrestler. And then
you did?
Yeah. Then one thing just led to another. I started doing MMA.
Rampage was a unique character, driven by a passion for thrilling bouts rather than the pursuit of titles. Even as a former champion, he stated that the belt was never his top priority. What truly mattered to him was the excitement of the fight, and he believed that if given control over his own promotions, he could have showcased himself even more effectively.
How would you have liked to be promoted?
My main objective, why I started doing these jobs, to be successful and make money. That's why I started doing MMA. It's an American dream, to be successful, have a nice house, nice car, take, feed your family, send them to school.
Rampage is a legend not only in the UFC, but he is also a living legend in Japan.
Let me tell you about Japan. You started there. How did that come about?
The star of Japan is called Kazushi Sakuraba. It's so hard to say his name. He needed a last-minute replacement, and they wanted somebody tough and somebody durable, and they liked my style, you know.
Did you like Japan?
I love Japan. I fell in love with it instantly. The best people in the world, man, I'm telling you.
Is MMA different there?
MMA is way different there because the Japanese fans, they kind of understand the sport. They're more respectful. You fighting, they would be quiet while you fighting just so you can hear your corner man. And then when you do something spectacular, then they'll cheer, then they go back quiet just so you can hear the instructions of your corner man.
Have you gone back?
Yeah, I go all the time. Actually, my ex-wife is Japanese.
What was it like?
I fought in front of like 70,000 people, 80,000 people. They sent like energy to me. It was crazy. That's when I knew that the battle was going to begin shortly.
Behind the scenes in Pride, did they ever, there was talk that some fights were fixed and things like that. Did they ever ask you to do anything like that?
With the Sakuraba fight, they did kind of ask me. It was kind of weird the way they propositioned me and stuff. But I can honestly say I never fixed any fights. I've heard that some fights in Japan were fixed.
Right.
People don't know, Pride was bigger in Japan than the UFC was in America. Way before the UFC could ever do this. Pride was selling out 90,000 seat stadiums.
Yeah, what fucked up Pride was they lost the contract with Fuji TV.
It's crazy that it could be so big in Japan and then dwindle away to almost nothing. So you see events from Japan now, it's like a shadow of what it was.
I don't know if you know about this, but Dana White bought an organization just to get me because I left Pride and I went to WFA. My manager at the time, he became like the president of WFA, so he had to stop being my manager. Then the company folded and Dana bought the whole company so I can come over.
Oh.
I left Pride right when it was going down.
When the UFC bought Pride, they thought they were buying a whole organization. They didn't get anything but a library. They got a video library.
That's all they got?
All the contracts were bullshit. Everything was bullshit. That's why they never got Fedor. The whole thing was all fucked up. It was run by the mob.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He was fighting there for a long time, and he loved the Japanese fans.
I am a faggot. Say, I am a faggot. I am big faggot. Yes. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. I suck dick. I suck dick. Yeah, no. Yeah, I suck dick. I suck dick. Okay? Yeah. You do. No, I don't. You do. Yeah.
Ready?
I like However, he didn't like the American fans, who were booing Rampage because he knocked out Chuck Liddell.
What's your favorite moment of your career?
Knocking Mandalay out.
Really?
Huh?
UFC 92.
That's what it was.
Why not winning the title?
I didn't give a fuck about that title.
Really?
The title came too soon.
Remember when you said, I want my belt back?
Yeah.
So it seemed to me like you cared about it.
Oh, that's then, after I got the belt.
What do you mean it came too soon?
My second fight in the UFC. Nobody knew who I was. People booed me. That's when I started not liking the fans. I never been booed for knocking somebody out before in my life.
Because you just knocked out one of the most popular fighters ever.
I think if people would have known me after the Ultimate Fighter, if people got to know my personality and stuff like that, then I fought for the belt, then it would have been a better transition. I never been booed for doing a good job. That's made me like, man, fuck these American fans. I beat Chuck Liddell, got the belt. The UFC wanted me to unify the belts with Dan Henderson. So I'm actually the first ever unified champion in MMA, but for some reason, they wanted to give that accolade to Anderson Silva, but they never gave me the accolades of me being the first unified MMA champion. I don't understand why. I don't know why they like Anderson Silva over me to this day. I have no idea why. Because back in those days, if you was Pride champion, you was #1. If you was UFC champion, you was #2.
Rampage Jackson was never interested in fighting wrestlers. He was a strong striker who loved putting on a show and wanted opponents who could help make the fight exciting and entertaining. But Rampage often criticized the UFC and the people running it. While he sometimes said he liked Dana White, his interviews often showed a different side, with more frustration and mixed feelings about their relationship.
Dana's a good person when he want to be.
The beef really started from Rampage himself, when firstly he was trying to be kicked out of the UFC because other organizations were giving him triple the money.
The time that I was trying to get kicked out of the UFC, I had to keep it real. But
were you trying?
Yeah, man.
You actually were trying to get kicked out?
I was trying.
Did they say anything to you about it?
No, they were smart. They knew it. They saw right through it.
Why were you trying to get kicked out? You say you like money. Don't you want money?
I got people offering me way more money. I can't negotiate with them.
How much more?
A lot.
Like double the amount?
Triple.
But are they legit?
Who cares?
Will they pay you?
Yeah.
While most fighters dream of being in the UFC, Rampage Jackson was trying to get out of the organization. There were various reasons for this, but it mainly came down to money and the opponents he was being given.
You like Lorenzo? I never hear you talk about Lorenzo.
I like Lorenzo. I like Lorenzo. I like Dana. I don't like Joe Silva.
You don't?
I don't like Joe Silva.
Why?
Joe Silva got a small man complex.
You think?
I know people like that. I got friends of small man complex. Joe Silva he just ain't right. Some of these fights he match up like why would he keep giving Czech Congo wrestlers? Congo is a very exciting fighter. Stand-up fighter. He gives him a wrestler and then complains that he's wrestling. Like, what you want him to do? You want him to get taken down?
He had his own ideas about how he should be promoted, and he never hesitated to talk about it. He believed the UFC wasn't meeting his expectations in these areas, which fueled the desire to leave.
If I was promoting myself, I was a promoter. If I had a fighter who every time he fought gave his all, he gave exciting fights, I would just promote this guy. I would put a lot of money behind this guy. I would keep this guy happy. I would pay this guy a lot of money just to keep him happy. This guy is gold mine. Promote this guy and throw him exciting fights. That's what I would do. And sometimes I just feel like underappreciated.
Dana White remained tight-lipped about these issues, rarely commenting on Rampage's criticisms. But as time passed, the situation became more serious.
Rampage's biggest problem is that he doesn't always train, doesn't always stay in shape. I mean, if he took this sport 100% hardcore serious, God knows what that guy would be able to accomplish, but he doesn't.
During an appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast, Rampage looked back on his career and pinpointed the exact moment when his relationship with the UFC began to sour. It was a turning point, a moment that marked the start of a growing rift between him and the organization that had once been his home.
You know what? I fucked up my relationship with the UFC by doing that fucking movie over that Rashad fight.
What was the movie?
18.
Oh, that's right.
That's when I fucked up my relationship with Dana and everybody.
You're playing the role that Mr. T made famous on the TV show. That seems like a good reason to turn down a fight.
Yeah, but the fight, it was a big fight. It was a fight with Rashad Evans in my hometown. But we was coaches against each other on The Ultimate Fighter.
Right.
But it was the hardest decision of my life. I lost money doing the movie, but I'm not really fueled by money. I'm not, I don't love money. I always wanted to do that movie. It just came at a bad time.
The thing about doing a movie though is that if that takes off, then you're The Rock. Who fucking knows? You're John Cena. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that have become action movie stars. Look at Randy. He did The Expendables with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And you can't fight forever.
Right. Exactly.
I understand Dana's point, because I didn't sign the bout agreement. That's the only thing that saved me. But it's supposed to be in my hometown. We just come off that Ultimate Fighter. That season broke records.
Yeah.
So I understand, but it was just so hard for me to turn down that movie.
Rampage thought that the movie business was the answer to all his fucking dreams and everything else, and that didn't work out too good. The pay over there wasn't what he thought it was. The pay over here was a lot better. a lot better. The grass is always greener, man, until it's not there anymore. And then you realize you made a lot of mistakes and you should have done things differently.
I lost money doing that movie, to be honest.
What do you mean?
I got paid like less than 10% of what I get paid for a fight. I did it because I'm a big fan of it, but you know, I like doing movies. I'm a big kid, and I was hoping to get more movie roles after that. And all I can say about that is that the manager I had at the time was a fucking idiot, and he thought it was a good idea to sign with the same agency that represented the UFC, and I didn't get any more movie offers.
Wow.
That was the toughest decision I ever had to make in my career.
Do you still feel like years later that was a bad decision?
I don't think it was a bad decision. One of the ways my dad and I bonded, we used to watch A-Team together and stuff. I've always been a big fan of the A-Team and Mr. T.
You still get residual checks from that movie?
Yeah, but it ain't shit. Sometimes it be like 10 cents.
No way.
It'd be like 50 cents. $1.50.
Dana White was deeply disappointed with Rampage Jackson's late career, especially after his loss to Ryan Bader and his refusal to fight Rashad Evans, despite them coaching against each other on The Ultimate Fighter. When Ariel Helwani asked Dana about Rampage, it became clear that Rampage was no longer one of Dana's favorites. The tension between them was evident, marking a significant shift in their relationship. In his response, Dana White mentioned that after Rampage starred in the A-Team movie, he didn't believe Rampage still had it. Rampage took those words very personally, and they had a huge impact on him. He later revealed that he'd been dealing with an injury during his fight, which Dana knew about. However, Rampage felt that Dana made him look foolish in front of the media, adding to the strain in their relationship.
A lot of people have been saying that Rampage just wasn't motivated. He came in overweight. Obviously, this was a big fight for him, but he didn't look good out there. What did you make of his whole performance tonight?
I'm disappointed. You know what I mean? I think that Rampage is so talented. I just question whether he wants to do this anymore. You know, I have been since, you know, probably the A-Team movie.
Did you get a chance to talk to him after the fight and get a sense for where he's at?
2 seconds right here. You know, he said, I'm sorry and I want to fight again and I'll come back and I'll be better. You know, so we'll see what happens.
He said he was injured and that's why he missed weight. Did you have any idea that he was going to miss weight?
No, I had no clue until the day of the weigh-ins. Right when I got here, they told me.
But soon I got hurt, it's like it went all downhill from there, and my team, we just try to keep it on the wraps.
Was it hard fighting injured and having Dana White criticize your performance?
It's really hard when you do that because you know what I'm saying, you put your life on the line and you put your heart, and I didn't want to pull out of the fight because I was fighting in Japan. You know, like I said, I love Japan, and you think you're doing something good for the organization, then the promoter criticize you. It's really hard. That's the reason why I left the UFC.
After the exchanges via the media, it was obvious that they did not like each other anymore. Rampage was fighting Glover Teixeira at UFC on Fox 6, and himself and Dana White exchanged some words with the media. Rampage was saying that skateboarders were making more money than him, and that he deserved more respect and a bigger paycheck.
And a question for Rampage. If I don't mean to are you playing PS3? What is that? Okay. Right here. Have you had a chance to talk to Dana while you're here in Chicago?
No, I haven't. I just saw him right now, first time.
Will you try to talk to him before?
We talked before, man. Me and Dana, we on a, you know what I'm saying, mutual little standpoint right now. It's time for me to focus on my fight, not focus on anything else. Dana and I, we already had our fights. We good. Me and Dana cool.
Do you echo that sentiment?
Yeah, I do.
How annoyed were you that Rampage was playing video games up here?
I'm not annoyed at all. I mean, Rampage is a grown man. I'm kind of bummed out, and I feel kind of sorry for him that he's doing this. I don't know why he's taking this approach. Listen, if you want to be mad at me and mad at the UFC, and you feel however you feel. I feel like I've been there for Rampage. I feel like I've done right for him. You know, the guy came out with an interview and said skateboarders make more than him. Rampage has made, from 2007 to 2012, $15.2 million in the UFC. I know a lot of skateboarders. Unless they're talking about Tony Hawk or Rob Dyrdek or one of those guys, skateboarders aren't making $15.2 million.
Is this his last fight in the UFC?
What I was going to say, too, is in the way that he's acting, the way that he treated the media today. The media is here to ask you questions and talk about, this is part of the deal. This is how this works. You know, I actually feel kind of sorry for him. I just think whatever he's got in his mind, he's playing this thing the wrong way. You know, when his fight is over, we're either going to do a new deal or we're not going to do a new deal. We'll see what happens. My philosophy is always this. Whatever your job is, you have to like the people you're working with and you have to like what you're doing for a living. And if he's that unhappy here and he hates it here so bad and feels like he's been so mistreated and hasn't been paid enough money, then he needs to find somebody that can make him happy and that he's happy working with.
And there was one card we were fighting on. You were so pissed off at the UFC. We're at the press conference. You were playing your fucking PS Vita the whole entire time. Your PSP, you're sitting there like, I ain't talking to nobody.
No, UFC took my Reebok deal from me. So I was with Reebok and they wanted to sponsor me, and I was doing commercials for them and doing, you know, they gave me like a shoe, like an off-road shoe, and we was finna do a whole big ordeal. They wanted to be on my shorts and stuff for the UFC, and Dana White was like, you can't be sponsored by Reebok. We don't have a relationship with Reebok. I was like, you don't got a relationship with my other sponsors either. Chill out. You know what I'm saying? This ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm an independent contractor. You guys can't tell me what I can and can't have on my shorts. And Reebok was liking that they was getting more press by not being able to be on my shorts than they think they would have gotten just by being on my shorts in the fight. They teamed up and Reebok didn't do the deal with me. Next thing you know, the whole UFC is sponsored by Reebok. Yeah, and I didn't get not like 1 cent. Like, and I believe in karma. And I was watching that Reebok deal play out, and it seems like it wasn't a good deal because Reebok's not there anymore. You know, a lot of athletes, like top athletes, they make more money off endorsements than they do off playing the sport that they love. Yeah, I thought that was unfair. Like, we're independent contractors. It was wrong.
And they knew that I wasn't going to fight for them as long as they had their Reebok contract. Because I was talked about that. If Dana would have fucking gave me some money, like, hey, Rampage, I'm sorry, this Reebok did for you, huh? Here's a check. I want to say shit, but he didn't do that.
What if they reach out to you to be in the Hall of Fame? Would you accept it?
No, fuck them. I don't fight for no Hall of Fame. I don't fight for fame. What you get from being in the Hall of Fame?
No, but
I
just
never
like
fought
to be honored.
Fame. I didn't fight to be honored. I fought for honor. Now, honor me with a check. You know what I'm saying?
However, Dana White already knew that he wasn't going to make a new deal for him.
Wanted to go? We let Rampage walk away. See you later. You know, Rampage made some statement like, yeah, I wasn't re-signing. Well, we weren't re-signing Rampage either. It was pretty clear on both sides that we weren't going to re-sign. We didn't hold that over his head. We didn't, whatever. You want to leave? Leave. Go.
After losing against Glover Teixeira, Rampage left the UFC and signed with Bellator.
When you left the UFC, then you came back to UFC, correct?
Oh yeah, that's right. I think I was like one of the only fighters to be under contract with Bellator and UFC at the same time. I left the UFC because they took my Reebok deal, but this is before the Reebok deal went into play. But I think I owed them one more fight on contract. I had to buy myself out of that UFC contract. I think it cost like 1.7 million or something. I can't remember what it cost me to buy myself out of it. I can't remember, but it was a big number.
You making that
like
kind of money?
I was getting paid, bro. Bellator paid me on the purse. They paid me more than the UFC paid me, though.
You said when you signed with Bellator, you felt like you were reborn. What do you mean?
A lot of people don't know this, but when you a fighter, your first fight is with the promoter. The promoter job is to
get as much money for him.
Right, yeah. When I signed with Bellator, Beyond Rebner, he just gets it. It seems like he used to be a fighter. Like, he understood everything. We didn't argue about nothing at all. You know, he didn't feed me a bunch of BS.
Which happened to you before?
Plenty of times.
Same thing with Tito.
Same thing with Tito, and this is why I joined Bellator. A lot of fight fans don't understand, like, oh, why you leave this one organization and go to Bellator? They would never understand. You gotta walk from out to understand.
It wasn't hard then to leave UFC?
No, it was very easy for me to leave UFC. Very easy. I just didn't like the way they treated me. Simple as that.
Despite everything, Rampage holds no grudge against Dana White. He understands that his desire for more money and his decision to pursue a movie career were risks he chose to take. He also recognizes that Dana is a businessman who made decisions in the best interest of his company.
If I'm gonna be honest, I have nothing against Dana because it's just business with him. It's nothing personal. Dana has done a lot for the sport that I love. If you get to know Dana, man, you're on his good side. He's actually a good guy. I don't hate Dana, but I wouldn't want to do business with Dana.
Listen, I have no beef with Rampage. I don't dislike Rampage or anything like that.
You know, I used to try to say something, and sometimes the promoters, I'm not going to say it in their name. They try to censor me and stuff like that. Don't say this, don't say that. Sometimes I was like, man, and like now you got Conor McGregor going out there saying, doing all this stuff, talking about money, all this stuff. I was doing all this stuff, and then I was told like, oh, you gotta stay away from this, you gotta stay away from that. Stop humping reporters and all this stuff. Now I look back like, man, I was the first Conor McGregor. I was Conor McNigger.
But that was all more than 12 years ago, and now there's no remaining hate between them. However, it's clear that they will never be as close as they once were. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and turn on those notifications. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.